Okay, Year 7, welcome to your video tutorial on multiplying, dividing, and mixed operations. This will hopefully be some revision or be re-emphasizing some stuff we have learned over the last few days. To multiply a number by a pronumeral, we've already seen we can write them next to each other. So we've already done that. We know that 7a means 7 times a. And 5ABC, for example, means 5 times A times B times C. The order in which the numbers and the pronumerals is multiplied is really not important because you're still multiplying everything by each other. When writing a product without the multiplication signs, the thing we have to remember that the numbers are always written first. So, if I get given something like this, 5 times A times B times C, and I try and simplify it or write it without the multiplication signs, I never write A, B, C, 5. Okay, I always make sure I write the 5 first. In terms of these things here, it's not really important, but it's a good idea to organize them in alphabetical order. Okay, it's a good idea to write my pronumerals in alphabetical order. Okay. So my first example, it says, write A times B times C without the multiplication signs. Okay, why is Mr. Corsi getting you to do this? What the hell's the point? Reinforcing what you've done in the last few lessons. So this one, writing 4ABC without the multiplication signs is just 4ABC. I'm trying to reinforce the fact with you guys that this is this, and I never write it like that in algebra. I always write it like this. So this time it says simplify 4a times 2b times 3c. Give your final answer without multiplication. Let me show you what this actually looks like. Okay, this one actually here, I'm going to use this space down here for both of my questions. I'm going to rub out each question as I go. Now, I know 4a is actually 4 times a. Okay, so I'm going to write it in with the multiplication sign. 4 times a times 2b. I know that's the same as saying 2 times b. And 3c times, I know that's the same as saying 3 times c. Now, you'll notice here I have a whole lot of pronumerals and I have a whole lot of numbers. Because it's all multiplication, I can actually multiply the numbers together. So what I'm going to do with another marker, I'm going to underline my terms. Okay, I can multiply all these numbers together. So I go 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 8 threes are 24. So I write down 24 there. Now it's 24 times A times B times C. I know that I don't write 24 times A times B times C, but rather I write it without the multiplication sign. So 24 A, B, C. So that's the first time we've seen that, guys, and that's really important to note, that when you have numbers, okay, in multiplication, only in multiplication, are you allowed to multiply them by each other, okay? So with multiplication, I don't have to worry about like terms because I'm not trying to add them. I'm trying to multiply everything, okay? So in multiplication, the first thing I do is I write it out in expanded form and then I circle around my numbers and I make sure I write my numbers in order. Okay, this next example. Oh, I'll get rid of that bit too. Oh, I've got rid of everything, sorry. It says simplify 3w times 4w. Okay, so I'm going to write it here again. That's same as 3 times w times 4 times w. So the first thing I do is I underline my numbers, okay? And that's 3 times 4 is 12. Now, we learned something interesting in substitution that's going to be very important here. W times w. I don't write WW, do I? There's a better way I can represent that. And I hope some of you are sitting there and having this click over. How do I write a pronumeral multiplied by itself? with the squared sign. So the answer for this one here, when I multiply a pronumeral by itself, it becomes squared. So 12w squared. What else might you have to do in order to prove you know this? Okay, sometimes you're asked to write these things without the division sign. So it's saying 3x plus 1, all of that divided by 5. So let's look at this. 3x plus 1, all of that, because it's in brackets, divided by 5. That's how I write it. Now, this second example, okay, it's saying 8ab divided by 12b. As soon as you have a pronumeral on the top in division and you have it on the bottom, they cancel each other out. So if I've got one b on the top, I can cross out a b on the bottom as well. I have an a on the top, but I don't have an a on the bottom, so I have to leave that one the way it is. Now, this word here says simplify. I can't actually solve this, can I? But I look at these numbers 8 and 12, and the thing I have to ask myself, is there a number that goes into 8 that goes into 12? There's a few ways I can do this. Okay, I'm just going to rewrite this without. I'm just getting rid of those b's. That's all we've done so far. I'm just going to move it over here. Is there a number that goes into 8 that goes into 12? Well, I can cross that out and I can halve them. If I find that a bit tricky, I can halve them. So that becomes 4 on 6. Is there any more numbers that go into 4 and 6? Oh, okay, 2 does, doesn't it? 2 goes into 4 twice and goes into 6 3 times. If you're a clever cookie, you would have also noticed that 4 is my common number. 4 goes into 8 twice and into 12 3 times. If you could do that in one step, that's really awesome. So what am I left with? Okay, I've crossed out those things, so I'm left with 2a divided by 3. I'm not solving anything, I'm only simplifying. And that's it, guys. That's multiplying and dividing and doing other operations in order to simplify expressions.